Welcome back. You're watching The Firm. Starting this week, India Inc. has to comply with 2 new Secretarial Standards on board meetings and general meetings. Are they useful or painful? The President of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, the ICSI, Atul Mehta, is our special guest on today's show. Mr. Mehta, thank you very much for speaking with us. First, if you can explain to us what these 2 new standards attempt to achieve, and really what are some of the new practices that they introduce?
See, Menaka, what used to happen, so far different companies used to follow the different practice with respect to the secretary issuing the notice, issuing the agendas, writing the minutes, books and all. So there was an attempt which has been made by the ICSI, and of course this has been approved by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And
provided for under the Companies Act.
Under the Companies Act also. And it was a need of the day. See, in India we have almost 1 million company, 10 lakhs company, out of which we have a 7,000 plus company which is listed on a stock exchange. And probably this number is one of the highest number in the world. So somewhere, of course, we have this new Companies Act 2013, which has taken care of so many corporate governance issue. And probably this is one of the best legislation so far we have. Of course, there are some teething problem, but this is a huge legislation, which we have a more than 400 section, and plus so many rules are also there. So now there are 2 important things which has been added to this Companies Act. One is a secretarial audit and the secretarial standard. So there was a need that why can't we have the standard practice for the companies. And somewhere the section 118 subsection 10 says that those 2 standards which is made mandatory. One is for the board meetings and the other one is for the shareholders meeting. Shareholders meeting. So this standards where it has been said that all the company will have to follow except those 1% companies.
Correct.
So this is a good initiative, and
so essentially it is to standardize practices when it comes to how board meetings are conducted and general meetings or shareholder meetings.
And one more thing, why it was a need was filled, because if you see the more than 80% of the case which is pending before the company law board, if you see these are all those operation mismanagement 397, 398, the erstwhile 1956 are derived from this, where the notice has not been issued to a directors. These are all for people are just grumbling about those private limited company and small company. But if you see the litigations are more in those private limited companies, just because the notice were not issued in time, or the short notice was issued, the agenda was not even sent or probably placed in the meeting. So somewhere this is a good attempt and good initiative, I would say.
Okay, so can you highlight for us some of the new practices that both these standards introduce?
There are standards, like for example, we say that quorum should be present throughout the meetings.
Correct.
Okay, which earlier anytime the person can come and go. And what we have stated that there has to be some serial number which has to be given to the minutes book, and the circulation of minutes also. So 2 times we are circulating. One is a draft, and one is once.
And you have prescribed time limits. So once you send out the draft, if there is any response to the draft, it must come in within a certain time limit. Then the chairperson has to sign it within a certain time limit. And I think effectively you said within 30 days of the meeting. The final minutes have to be circulated to all the board members, correct? If I've understood that correctly. Let me add to that. For instance, you have said agenda and notes on the agenda shall be given to the directors at least 7 days before the meeting. We've spoken of the draft minutes in that sense, and the final minutes. You've also said that minutes once entered in the minutes book shall not be altered. All of this is to do with meetings of the boards of directors, but I'm just trying to provide some illustrations of some of the new features and the useful features in these standards, correct? But there is some concern that maybe the ICSI has overreached. And let me bring you different facets of those concerns, right? The full Companies Act 2013, with all 470 sections and 6 schedules, is less than 300 pages. So your 2 secretarial standards are 30 pages. So there is a great degree of detail and minutiae in those standards, and some of that also translates into lots more paperwork.
See, over a period of time, as I said, corporate used to follow certain practice. Okay, so what we are trying to bring out is a good practice, which we are trying to inbuilt in the standards. So I don't know 30 pages what you are saying. It's a very small book, but then if you take it in an A4 size book, it works out to be something like a 7 to 8 pages. But yes, the standards were required. And let me tell you one thing. Nowadays, you have those private equities and a lot of FIRs are investing money in the companies. So somewhere, they are also more comfortable. Rather, they are the happiest person in the world. Because now you have the agendas coming in advance, because most of the private equity company also have nominee directors on the board.
Right.
Okay, so for them also it's something good, because somewhere you have standards in place now, so the company will have to follow the standards. They need to send those notices in advance, agendas in advance. Somewhere we are also stating that last minute agendas should not be, rather they should be discouraged, and it has to be, if they are bringing it, then certain process has to be followed.
Right. No, we appreciate all the new useful efforts, but there are several aspects of the standards that also are raising concerns, like I said. So for instance, let me tell you, in several places all the standards do is to repeat the act. For instance, it says a notice convening a meeting shall be given at least 7 days before the date of the meeting. Now this is in the act. Any director may participate through electronic mode. This is in the act. Committees shall meet as often as necessary. This is in the act. The quorum for a meeting of the board shall be 1/3 of the total strength of the board, or 2 directors, whichever is higher. Again, this is in the act. A general meeting shall be convened by or on authority of the board. This is in the act. So I'm not sure why you've decided to repeat all of this in the standards.
Maybe some of them are repetitive. So you can say those 30 pages can be reduced, like maybe half of the things may be repetitive. But yes, see, the objective is to give a more of a clarity on the sections and the practice.
Right.
And wherever the act is silent, somewhere the standard has given some kind of a more of a clarity.
I'll come to those areas. I want to bring up some more items to you from within the two standards. Right. There are some items that I mean, you want to smile at. Each item of business to be taken up at the meeting shall be serially numbered. Did you need to put this down in the standard in any fashion? Directors who attend general meetings of the company and the company secretary shall be seated with the chairman at an annual meeting. I'm just not sure why you felt the need as a professional body to put all of this in standards.
As I said, just to have a uniform practice and more clarity. Okay, of course, when you say that company secretary is sitting next to the chairman, because of course chairman also needs some kind of a support in the meetings.
I have no objection to where the company secretary sits. I'm just wondering why you all have decided to prescribe all of this.
This is but you see, as I said, one is a law and the other is a good practice. So somewhere we have taken that these are all good practice if the company follows, and you have something like a uniformity.
But I do want to bring up, as you pointed out, that where the law has been silent, the standards have maybe opted to step in, and I'll give you the instances of that. For instance, no business shall be transacted at a meeting if notice in accordance with this standard has not been given. Resolutions for items of business which are likely to affect the market price of the securities of the company shall not be withdrawn. No gifts, gift coupons or cash in lieu of gifts shall be distributed to members at the meeting. I understand the intent of what the standard is attempting to do, but I'm not sure I can find any of these in the Act. And if they're not in the Act, can the standards prescribe something?
See, normally whenever you are taking any item of the agenda, like the bonus and so if you are taking up the item A, you discuss, deliberate, and you say that you are not proceeding yet. But you cannot say that I've just dropped this item of the agenda, or probably
But the Act, I think, is silent, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
You're a corporate lawyer almost. The Act is silent on the withdrawal of resolutions of this nature.
So Menaka, that is what wherever the Act silent, we said you should follow the best practice.
The Act is silent in many things. That's because the Parliament has chosen not to say anything. For the ICSI to decide that, look, we are going to speak when the Parliament has chosen to stay silent,
but
seems a little odd.
Right? I think you also agree. The standards, which we have laid down, it is all what we are saying. It's our summary of the good practices which the corporate should follow.
Can the standards prescribe what the Act has chosen not to prescribe?
See, this again,
I'm just curious about that. No. I understand the intent.
So Act is silent. The Act is silent. So what wherever the Act is silent, through standards, we try to clarify, or rather, we are just giving those kind of a practice, the best practice which company should be following.
The reason why this concerns me is because from what I understand, these secretarial standards apply, like you pointed out, to all companies. So listed companies, public companies, private companies, all companies except for one-person companies, right? So not only are they lengthy, not only do they have minutiae and great detail and therefore more paperwork, they could be in some ways described as onerous, especially for private companies who may not have the wherewithal to do all this paperwork that you're demanding of them.
See, again, Menaka, the intent is to follow the good practice.
I understand, sir, but practically you understand that small companies would find it difficult to follow these prescriptions.
But see, when I'm, standard says 7 days notice, 7 days agenda should be sent. This is, which is very very minuscule, and which if you're running the setup of
standard
a private
also
company,
says pages of the minutes book shall be consecutively numbered.
Because see what used to happen, we have a litigations because somewhere the minutes has to be first, or you have to be used to replace the minutes. So if you have a serially number, so somewhere you have those control.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have any number of meetings, and you have a any paper meeting, and then you say that this was the minutes. So somewhere this are the practice which, and I'll tell you, most of the good corporate house they follow this numbering and.
What is the penalty for non-compliance with these standards?
If you're not complying with the standard, I believe it is 25,000 to the company, and those officer, if they are not following, 5,000 rupees per for that particular per person. Per officer penalty. So
you don't, would you admit that this is going to be difficult for smaller companies, private companies to have to comply with?
Again, Menaka, see, if you see this, the case laws, which are pending, these are all, more than 80% of the case laws are with respect to the minutes. The board meetings are not being, handled properly or convened properly. And
so effectively what this means is private companies will have to hire company secretaries to be in compliance with these standards.
See, the standard can be, all those standards which we have suggested, which any layperson can follow.
All right, Mr. Mehta, we'll wrap it up here. 2 new, fairly extensive secretarial standards, and this is also the first year for secretarial audits. So company secretaries have been very, very busy. With that, Atul Mehta, thank you very much for being on the firm. And thank you very much for watching. But before I go, here is a programming alert. On Monday, the firm spoke to CCI Chairman Ashok Chawla regarding the amendments to merger control regulations, and he also responded to industry complaints on the numerous allegations of gun jumping, discordant timelines and aggressive penalties. You can watch that entire interview at these times this weekend. We'll see you next week.